Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman, the good Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org with me. We got a whole lot to talk about and a whole little time to get it done, so let's kick it off right now and say we reject revolution unless it's a Jesus revolution. Then we're in because we follow the Prince of Peace. Sheriff Mack, welcome to the show, sir.
Well, Sam, it's great to be back with you. I guess I'm back. So Mack is back. I hope we're working now. But anyway, I
we
think
can hear you great,
phone
sir.
Trouble at the same time you guys were. So anyway, I'm grateful to be back with you. It's been a while since we've been on, and so let's make it happen.
Roger that. Let me summarize last hour a little bit because I know that you wanted to weigh in on a couple of those topics. You know, we're on day 14 of the shutdown. They're on vote number 8. And I'm saying, look, they're deadlocked. The only acceptable path forward is to vote for one honest, single item bill at a time. Put a single bill up, Mike Johnson. Let's say funding the traffic controllers. They deserve a paycheck. Single bill. We're going to fund the traffic controllers. If people vote against it, you can, in the media, and I don't mean literally, but in the media, crucify these people. Just say, have you lost your mind? The whole nation, the whole transportation, the delivering of packages, I mean, everything depends on the airline industry, being able to take off and land. And okay, have you lost your minds? And we could politically just make it horrible for these people, one line item at a time. How come you're not for that? Is this partisan to you? Are you some kind of a lackey? What? And we can use this against them at the next election. These people voted against the traffic controllers getting a paycheck. These people wanted to shut down transportation completely. And so, look, we've got to do that. And then when we talk about food, they say, oh my gosh, SNAP's going to go away. Oh my heavens, WIC is going to go away. And I've got a few headlines that relate to this very topic. Keep the government out of it. We don't need the government to take care of our neighbors. Love the Lord thy God and love thy neighbor as thyself. We need to revive true charity. Americans, churches, and the private sector can end dependency. The NAACP, what are they saying? Nothing like I'm saying. We need to end WIC and SNAP. Let the church and private charity feed America again. Government can't replace the church. It's time Christians take back compassion. We don't need bureaucracy to feed families. Faith and freedom and the free market can do it better. Faith over federal aid. Replace SNAP with church-led compassion. I'm just saying there's so many ways to go about so many of these problems that we're facing, and they just want to play games. All of them. Sheriff?
Well, you make a very good point, Sam, because that's exactly what I've been thinking, that why would we trust any of these people to take care of the poor, to feed the hungry and the needy? They can't take care of themselves. First point on that. When was the last time Congress ever balanced a budget? Sam, they cannot control themselves. They cannot control spending. And they are so inept. Why would we trust Congress to make a bureaucracy that's in charge of transportation, especially air travel? They don't know how to do anything. And not only that, they put politics ahead of national security and individual safety. Why would we trust them? And that's why I said at the very beginning of the show, before I got cut off, I'm telling you, we need to fire Congress, and this is a perfect time to really move with that, to really accelerate that movement. Because if there's anything that's very clear about this, Sam, we cannot trust the people in Congress. And I mean, those of us who are staunch Republicans or staunch conservatives, it goes for those who claim to be conservative and good Republicans. It's definitely applicable to rhinos, and it's way applicable to Democrats who don't give a flying banana to any of this because all they're concerned about is political posturing and hating Trump. And
When you
so
talk
they
about
don't care about
flying
anything else,
bananas,
Sam. And people are just pawns in the game.
amen to that. When you talked about flying bananas, it reminded me of a movie where they had this pig that was flying, and this Mexican kid in the movie said, "Flying carnitas."
Yeah,
So there you go.
let's
But
have some.
here's my
Yeah.
question. Sam, meaning me, I'm urging President Donald J. Trump to seize the opportunity, abolish the criminal IRS immediately. If they're all furloughed, why not just say you guys are gone? We don't need an IRS anymore.
Yeah.
We're getting rid of the income
Get
tax.
rid of them.
Okay, this is what I mean by bring back the proper role of government, bring back the traffic controllers, get them paid. Go ahead and transfer WIC and SNAP and all these things to the private sector. Go ahead and just shut down the criminal IRS and say, look, you're going to have to get a job somewhere else, people. I'm sorry, but we're not going to do this anymore. None of these solutions, in my opinion, are being worked on. And who's bringing up the Christian relationship about this, about our responsibility to care for our neighbors? Who's bringing these things up like we are right now? Sheriff, have you heard anybody? Hardly.
No, and you mentioned the NAACP. They never bring up anything that is noteworthy or
Why don't they help me?
worthy of
Why
anything.
don't they help me get churches to
Yeah,
replace SNAP?
Yeah, no kidding.
It can apply to white churches, black churches, any church, anywhere. Anybody can go to church, and we can just help people around, neighbors. I don't care what color you are. If your neighbor's a different color, then by all means, help them out. We could solve this in an instant, Sheriff, if we wanted to.
There's lots of churches that do that, and churches should be doing it.
And half the time, the government interferes with them and tries to stop them.
Yeah, true. But Sam, this is a valid question. Why did the churches or the church ever take over or relinquish or abdicate that to government? Because government took it because they wanted to see, oh, we're so kind and we're so helpful and we're taking care of the poor and the needy and the hungry. And what they did is they built a bunch of buildings, hired a bunch of people to do this, and none of them knew what they were doing. They were just friends of politicians, and it's a complete disaster because once you have government, and I can't wait for Mom Donnie to see this, when you do a government grocery store, you're going to see how absolutely lousy grocery stores are because they don't care. There's no incentive in doing a good job. And that's where capitalism comes in, because capitalism focuses on ingenuity, and who does the best job gets the most money, and there's incentive in profit. In this case, there's no incentive. You get what you get no matter what you do. And that's how come communism and socialism fail and have failed miserably throughout world history.
Yeah, when government starts to force their way in, it's very difficult for churches to deal with it and to compete. Number one, the churches oftentimes get threatened with lawsuits. That's what Matthew Staver over at Liberty Counsel is all about, helping churches and individuals stand up for religious freedom. That's been under assault for decades, as you know. Oftentimes when the government does something, it's very hard to compete and do it yourself. Just take the medical care industry right now. This big debate about the shutdown is over Obamacare. But the Republicans aren't right now voting to shut down Obamacare. Okay? And so why don't we just shut down Obamacare right now? It's already shut down, they claim. If it is, good, leave it shut down. But see, the Republicans aren't willing to do that. They don't really want to get rid of Obamacare like they claim. But what an opportunity to get rid of Obamacare right now. Just say, we're never bringing it back. You got that? We're never bringing it back. But see, they won't do that. Right now, they're just too busy arguing about, well, we don't want to give Obamacare to illegals. Well, I agree. But at the same time, you didn't want to give it to anybody a few years ago. Now you want to give it to everybody? Yeah. You want to pass the Joe Biden plan and give it to everybody but not illegals? And the battle's over the illegals? Why isn't the battle over shutting down Obamacare like it used to be? Oh, because they've jettisoned that a long time ago, see? And that's the problem that we're facing is they're all compromised. And I don't mean to be so negative, but I don't see what other choice I have. Right now, we could shut down the IRS. Trump's even hinted at it over and over, just like he hinted at locking up Hillary. Neither of them seem to be real, as far as I can tell. Because now you got to strike while the iron's hot, don't you, Sheriff?
Yeah, of course. And this it does present a good opportunity. And the biggest opportunity it provides us is a chance to see how useless Congress is.
And the best thing we can do is take a quick break and come back and tell you the rest of the story. Sheriff Mack in seconds. All right, the good sheriff's with me. Sheriff Richard Mack, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Bushman on your radio and TV. So I'm urging President Donald J. Trump to abolish the IRS. Seize the opportunity, sir. Come on. You got government shut down. I mean, I'm telling you right now, it's a target-rich environment just to say these things are never, I repeat, never coming back. SNAP, yeah. WIC, we're going to put that in the hands of the churches and the private sector. Thank you very much. We're going to also give Americans tax breaks for donations to take care of their neighbors. We're going to go ahead and just throw down and get rid of the IRS entirely. We're going to go ahead and, I mean, think of the things we could do if we really tried. All right, Sheriff, ICE is in the news, and I'm really concerned. I like a lot of what ICE has done, but I'm concerned now. There's an article in Wired magazine. Del Cameron put the article together, and here's the headline. ICE wants to build out a 24/7 social media surveillance team. Now, I'm very concerned about that. Documents show ICE plans to hire dozens of contractors to scan X, Facebook, TikTok, and other platforms to target people for deportation. Now, it sounds great on the surface, Sheriff, and I get that we want to use all we can to stop illegal aliens from abusing American citizens. Yeah. I get it and agree. But when you crank this up, pretty soon you're going to have ICE built 24/7 media monitoring network that'll be taken over by the Democrats. And buddy, they will use that thing like I don't even know what word to use. A samurai sword that's double-bladed, double-sided. I don't know. It'll be crazy if we're not careful. So we think we're doing things that are right, but it'll backfire, Sheriff.
No, that's completely unconstitutional, and I can't support it, Sam. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. A quote from Mack Prince case. Sam, and the book, the tyranny of good intentions. That's what Congress thinks all the time, Sam. That's what politicians say all the time. We have better ideas than the other side. It's government isn't who has the best ideas. Government is successful when we follow the rules, when we follow the Constitution, when we enforce it, when we keep our oath, when we see the foundational principles in action, and that now they're being destroyed by our own government officials because they have we got a great idea here. There's sheriffs that go along with some of this stuff. If it helps us get criminals, then we're going to do it. The Constitution be damned, or the Constitution notwithstanding. And this is the problem. We've all been brainwashed, including Republicans, that if we have a good idea, well, of course, we just do it. And it's so wrong, and this is so indicative of the corruption within our own government that thinks it can do anything it wants. And that's why we had the Patriot Act from the George W. Presidency and administration. So no, Sam, I'm not going to support that. And I will call somebody in Washington, D.C., who you and I both know is working with ICE a great deal. And I'm going to make that call. I mean, no,
and ask about that, because the question is, when we say ICE is for this, who is ICE? Does that mean Trump? Does that mean Tom Holman? Does that mean, Kash Patel and people? Does it mean Pam Bondi? Does it mean Kristi Noem? Who is wanting this to be the case? I get their point.
Well,
The problem is they're very misguided. It's the right idea, the wrongful remedy, Sheriff.
yeah. Again, I guess what you're alluding to there is don't let the cure be worse than the disease.
Amen to that.
And that's what they're kind of doing here. And Tom Homan has been kind of rendered impotent when it comes to doing his job right now because he's been under that criminal investigation. And Pam Bondi just got through saying that, testifying that there's no evidence there. And then the senator said, "I'm not asking you about the evidence. I'm asking you what happened to that $50,000 in the bag." And then finally, she just got frustrated and said, "Ask Kash Patel." Okay, we'll ask him. But can't you tell me what happened to the money? And to me, it really smacks of Sheriff in Virginia that was helping us from Culpeper County that we helped get a pardon for, Sheriff Jenkins. And it was pretty much the same thing. Please tell me, Sam, that Tom Homan is smarter than to take a bag full of money from somebody walking up to him on the street or,
He didn't
looking
take
like
a bag full of
politician.
money from walking up to him on the street, folks. I'm telling you, I don't know what happened, but that didn't happen. Because anybody in their
Yeah,
right
that's
mind could tell you that's just insanity. Oh, thank you for a bag
yeah,
of cash. I don't need to know where you
yeah.
got it. I don't need to know who you
I know.
are. It's kind of like how in the airport they're like, make sure to keep track of your luggage. Don't take something from somebody and put it in your luggage or whatever. Who would do that? Who would randomly just take it? The whole story is insane.
Yeah, that's just
There's entrapment games going on, and we've got to figure out what
yeah,
really is happening there. And hopefully, Cash will get to the bottom of it and mock these, in my opinion, folks, until the cows come home. I got a good news story. The only problem is I wish it would spread to the whole nation, Sheriff. Most
yeah.
people aren't hearing about it much, but they need to. Headline says Louisiana sues FDA to block mailing abortion drugs to pro-life states. So right now you can have a state that says no abortions in our state. It's illegal. But the government in the past has had the Food and Drug Administration buy off on a plan to mail these murder medications into those states anyway. Louisiana's sick of it and they're suing. I hope they win. They're right. You can't use the general government to violate state law.
Yeah, exactly. And that the federal government in any way would be pushing that just shows you again the corruption that exists within these bureaucracies, and that's really who runs America. It's the bureaucrats. And how many employees are there for the federal government? 2 million. 2 million. For
Well, we
heaven's
could
sake.
chop that to about a
Uh,
million while the shutdown happens, by the way. We should get that done on
uh,
steroids. But
Chop
Donald's
it down
threatening
to
and not really
10,000,
taking a lot
and
of
then we'll.
actions, right?
No, it's just so crazy, Sam. I'm tired of the insanity. Every time you and I meet every Tuesday, it's just more insanity. And I do want to compliment President Trump. What he has done in the Middle East has been miraculous.
Well,
And
and we
and
pray
so
that it lasts
uh,
and stays. I hope that it holds.
oh, absolutely. But it's such a step in the right direction, and that he got anybody from Hamas to agree to do anything is still a miracle, and it is going to take some time. Hamas is already, according to Reuters, has already executed 30 people who they felt were not loyal during this process, and they're making it public execution so they can bully and intimidate everybody else, and so, but for heaven's sakes, this has been pretty amazing. The peaceful uh, ambitions that he has achieved, 7 or 8 now where he stopped war. China's not trying to go after uh, what country right next to him, a little one, um,
Hong Kong, or not Hong
Tibet?
Kong,
No, Thailand.
Taiwan.
I think it's Thailand. Taiwan or Thailand, yeah, one of those. And now he's working with President Xi to settle differences and to work things out. Even though we all know that China has been a real pain in the side to America, and that they've been cheating us in so many different ways, and that they may have inflicted the world with COVID-19. And so I'm just really proud of some of the work that Trump has been doing. And I'm going to say this too, Sam. I'm going to call him out. Chuck Baldwin, notwithstanding, and you and I both like him,
So
and
just
we believe
so
he's a
everybody
good
understands the Chuck Baldwin
man.
thing, he's been writing articles very, very critical of Trump and everything. And
Yes,
I understand what Chuck is saying. There's some things that I have concerns about also. But when you highlight the bad to that level and never give any credit for any good, at some point it becomes a
right.
credibility crisis, in my opinion, Sheriff.
It does. It does. And I told him in the last one that he wrote, I wrote back and I said, your obvious bias comes out loud and clear to where I can't even hear whatever else you're trying to say. And it's really too bad, because he's very intelligent, he's very religious, he's very American, and he just seems he seems like he's suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. I'm sorry, but I would love to have him on the show sometime and have him try to explain.
Well, it's hard because the facts that he makes or that he brings up individually, I agree with a lot of them. When you put them all together, though, and you never give credit where credit is due, that's when you have a problem. Sometimes I've been willing to give even Hillary Clinton credit or Barack Obama credit or Joe Biden credit. It's rare, but it happens. But you got to give credit when credit's due. You've got to look at the bright side of things sometimes as well. So I want to talk a little bit more about this. Louisiana suing the FDA to block mailing abortion drugs to pro-life states. Tucker Carlson is in on it, and I want to give a big old shout out to Tucker. I'll explain in seconds. Sheriff Mack's with me. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live. All right, it's yours truly and the good Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org. I mentioned right before the pause, Louisiana sues the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, because they're basically mailing abortion drugs to pro-life states, literally murdering little children, murder medications. Louisiana says, stop it. It's got to stop. So they're suing the FDA. I wish all states, my state, your state, would sue the FDA over this as well. Trump could stand up and speak out about this. Congress could vote and make a difference right now. Anyway, but one person doing a great job speaking out about some of these things is Tucker Carlson, Sheriff Mack. And I want to work with Tucker. I don't know how to. I'm just a little guy and can't get a hold of some of these people sometimes, but I'd love to back his play on this. Headline says this: Tucker Carlson is endorsing a group called Preborn, an organization that provides free ultrasounds to women in crisis pregnancies. Carlson highlights the fact that it costs $28 to provide one free ultrasound. And they say that it can basically support and save babies' lives. He encourages donations to the organization, and he calls out what he sees as a prevailing culture of abortion-supported media, government, and financial resources. He's saying, hey, you know what? There's a lot of guilt to go around, and we can solve this problem. I really commend him for this, and I want to kind of highlight this. He's supporting the Preborn, and the Preborn is an organization that really makes a difference on this, and I just want to see more of this, Sheriff, and I want to see what we can do. We've been working on the pro-life issue for a long time. How do we carry this message for Tucker and for us and the Preborn, and how do we then stand up to stop abortion murder medications across state lines? And I mean, there's a real issue here we could focus on that could set the GOP or anybody else who would go along up for success in 26. I know they want you to believe standing for pro-life is the death nail, but it's a lie in the media. Americans are realizing that abortion's wrong and evil. Thou shalt not kill. And with ultrasounds and education, people are realizing it's horrible. And even people who used to be for abortions, when they see the ultrasounds, when they see some of these different things, they change their minds. And so we need to strike while the iron's hot. Doesn't even say it enough. We need to absolutely go after this big time. We've got Planned Parenthood defunded for only a year. Let's make sure it's forever. We've got a truck to drive through on this one, Sheriff.
Yeah, true. And I think, as far as the suggestion is, you and I, need to reach out to the preborn group and then see if we can connect with Tucker from there. Because I know, and I know that this is the top concern in our country and needs to be. And even if it were not the number one issue supported by media or politics, I don't go after them because one issue is more popular than another. This is an issue that every Christian should be involved with, every American should be involved with. And if the politicians don't want to be part of it, then, to heck with them. Because this is a key issue that we should all be getting involved with. And so, yes, let's contact preborn, say we want to help, we want to be a part of it, and hook us up with Tucker and let him come on our show and let us be on his. And let's really move on this, and let's get sheriffs going on this issue, and let's get everybody else going, because it's the number one thing in our entire governmental process.
By the way,
Declaration of Independence, life,
by the way,
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, life.
Today is Charlie Kirk's birthday. He would be 32 years old, right?
32.
I think so. Isn't that right?
32. I doubt it. I think he's older.
All right, somebody can look that up for me, but I'm pretty sure he'd be turning 32 today. I think he was 31. Let's see, when is Charlie Kirk's birthday, and how old would he have been? I'm just writing this into ChatGPT really quick. So today's his birthday, right?
Well, that's
so a
what you
big
said.
shout out to Charlie Kirk for his birthday, and he would be 32. But my whole point is he would be with Tucker. He would be with me and you, Sheriff, standing up for the pro-life cause.
Well, yeah, totally. Of course he would. He was probably the most outspoken person in the country on this. But Tucker has been also, and it's time for all of us to stop apologizing about this. The only apology we owe is ever allowing this to happen in the first place. But we need to quit apologizing like, oh, sorry that we really believe in life, and sorry that we really believe in protecting the unborn. Where else would we be protecting life? Sam, I guess some of the people would say no more capital punishment. Well, okay, then why would we say it's okay to kill the unborn? A heart beating inside this baby that's inside the mother's womb is where we should be protecting life at its most innocent stage in the entire life process.
All right, Eldon Stahl, welcome back. We're talking about the pro-life view, and we're talking about how Louisiana is suing the Food and Drug Administration over murder medications being shipped across state lines to pro-life states. Now Tucker Carlson's endorsing the preborn. Good for him. He's highlighting that we can basically have ultrasounds and save babies. He encourages donations to the organizations. He sees a prevailing culture of abortion supported by the media, government, and financial resources. And all I'm saying is I commend Tucker, and we want to be part of the solution. We should be going on pro-life rallies right now. It's Charlie Kirk's birthday. He'd be 32 today if he was alive. But he would be promoting pro-life rallies. Tucker, Charlie, me, you, Sheriff Mack, we can all work on this together and hopefully change the prevailing views of our culture. Even pro-death folks that are for abortions, when they see these ultrasounds, and when they, learn more about really how abortions happen, and maybe even watch an abortion, as horrible as that is, even a lot of these folks are now with science coming to the knowledge of the truth, going, this is heinous, this is horrible, this has got to stop. Eldon?
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting how President Trump has ordered attacks on these boats that are coming across international waters from Venezuela, which have drugs that they say could kill who knows how many thousands of people, and just blowing them out of the water. Now, I wonder what would be the appropriate thing for states to do when they have people carrying in things that will kill the most innocent among us. And now somebody will
Good
probably
point.
get this clip and say, oh, he wants to drone attack the mailman, or I don't know what, but or the Amazon guy. But
Wow. Yeah, no, we
what
got to
would
be
be the
very
appropriate
cautious and
step? I don't
careful, and we
know.
got to make sure the media doesn't run away with their shenanigans of dishonesty.
Right.
I want to move to a couple of other issues that relate to some sheriffs before the end of the hour. I don't know if you know, but there was a devastating blast at an explosive plant on the county line of Humphreys County, Tennessee, and it resulted in the deaths of 16 people. It's a horrible tragedy, and they don't have all the answers related to this. But the reason that I'm bringing this up is this. Sheriff Chris Davis of Humphreys County has been visibly emotional in public, fighting tears during his briefings. At a restaurant in Hurricane Mills, amidst expressions of support, he literally has wept openly, grieved openly. And believe it or not, he's doing so alongside his counterpart sheriff, Jason Kraft of Hickman County. And anyway, they've been on the front lines addressing the horrible fallout from this thing. The community remains closely connected to the affected families who are still waiting for formal identification of their loved ones. Even Governor Bill Lee, after a short investigation, sends out his condolences. But Sheriff Davis's candid, emotional expressions are in direct contrast with more reserved politicians. The reserved politicians are saying, we grieve with you, we're sorry for you. This guy's openly in tears. He was first elected as sheriff in 2026. I guess he began his law enforcement career in 2017. The explosion occurred early last Friday, and people are calling for immediate calls for the sheriff to be there because they say he's doing more than just law enforcement. He's been a rock for the community to rely on. Sheriff, this is part of being a sheriff.
Yeah, it is, Sam. I did that once. We had a helicopter that went down, and there was the pilot, the two paramedics, and one of the paramedics, a nurse, survived. And we had a very difficult time getting him out of the plane wreckage. And so I'll finish that when we get back.
Roger that. The story continues. Sheriff Mack, Eldon Stahl on TV. We're talking about the devastating blast that took place at an explosive plant in Tennessee last Friday. A tragic situation. But we're talking about Sheriff Chris Davis of Humphreys County, Tennessee. I made a mistake. He became sheriff in 2006. So it was back in 06, just saying. And he was first elected at 17 when he started his law enforcement career. This guy's an American hero. And that's why I bring it up. Being a sheriff has a lot more to do with being involved in the community, giving people courage and strength and hope and support, and than it is just law enforcement ideas. We need a community policing effort. Sheriff Mack was telling a story about a plane went down. The nurse survived. Others, the nurse survived or the nurse was a casualty?
The nurse lived, and another
Lived.
paramedic and the pilot died. And it was a helicopter. I think I said plane wreckage, but it was a helicopter wreckage. And then we had to get another helicopter in there, and Dr. Richard Cardona was lowered down to him, and he tied himself to the survivor. who of course was very hurt and injured. But then it showed both of them flying over the Mount Graham mountains, 2,000 feet up in the air, and it was on YouTube for the longest time, and it still might be there. I don't know. But when I saw all that and witnessed that, saving that man that way, and one man clinging to life and both of them clinging to each other as they made it to safety, I got very emotional talking to the press about it. And I didn't feel embarrassed. I felt like I was being me and natural and human, and that's what I am. That's who I am. And as you know, Sam, I did a lot of different things with protesters, challenging them to basketball games and standing for people who we wanted to make sure that we didn't get arrested by EPA and Army Corps of Engineers when they threatened to arrest people fixing a bridge. And Sam, I think we need humans being sheriffs and in law enforcement. We need compassion, and we need honesty, and we need human beings actually taking care of the rest of us. And it's a partnership between the people and law enforcement, and that's what I love to see. And I love it when, like this, one of the best stories ever, Sam, was when the cop in New York City went and bought some shoes for a homeless man. That's the type of thing I want to see in law enforcement.
Amen. So Chris Davis gets a big shout out for the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, as well as Liberty Roundtable Live. Sheriff David, they say his candid, emotional expressions contrast with more reserved public officials. His direct involvement and genuine demeanor have resonated positively with the local community. They love this guy. He's been there for 20 years, back in 2006. Okay, everybody knows who he is. They love him. He's there in the community. He's community pleasing. That's what we aspire to, people. That's what we're at. Now, another sheriff got in a little bit of hot water I want to tell you about. The guy's name is Sheriff Paul Birch. He's in Mobile County, Alabama. Okay? I guess he's under scrutiny now. He had a controversial Halloween display in his yard. I don't know if you saw this story, Sheriff, but AL.com, that's Alabama.com, reported that neighbor Whitney Newman posted an image of the display on Facebook. I guess it included 3 skeletons dressed as ICE agents, chasing 2 skeletons in sombreros and ponchos. And they say this was super insensitive. How dare the sheriff do that? So they went crazy after the sheriff. Newman, that's the citizen, criticized the display for its insensitivity. Well, listen up. The sheriff's office did not comment directly on the story, but they did share a statement from the sheriff's wife. No, I guess Birch's wife, Michelle. So the sheriff's wife, who claimed responsibility for the display, she stated that it reflected her Cuban background and views on federal immigration enforcement and the changes that took place to that enforcement. So now they've got to deal with this Cuban wife that's going, I put it up on purpose to make a point, and I have every right to do it, and the sheriff had nothing to do with it. And now the naysayers don't know what to say, Sheriff.
Well, good for her. And you know what? If everybody in the neighborhood were to complain about the aesthetics of or the appeal of Halloween displays in people's yard, that would be going now into infinity. So I might disagree with the political statement she was trying to make, but I'm not sure I understand the political statement she was trying to make, and I don't really care. And more power to her, because she's she's an immigrant, and more power to her for that.
But we need to get a hold of Paul Birch and see if we can talk to Michelle and say we'd like to understand, because look,
Yeah.
She put up this, deal with these guys in sombreros or whatever, the whole bit and all that. And I guess I want to know, what was her point? Is she just demonstrating that she thinks it shouldn't be that way? I'd like to learn. This is where we need to kind of not just hold on to our views and just be crazy. She has every right to put that up if she wants to. I don't know if it's tongue in cheek or symbolic in her mind, but we ought to talk and learn. If there's a Cuban woman that put that up, I want to know what she's trying to say. Don't we owe that instead of just attacking the sheriff?
But they're equal. They're equal.
Sure they are.
Both were skeletons. The police were
That's
skeletons,
right.
and so were the Mexicans. Or
I don't even know if they were Mexicans. I mean, they were portrayed so, but other people wear sombreros, right?
Well, they were portrayed so, but and it sounds kind of like the movie. What was it? That it showed all of them as skeletons in the whole movie. It's a Disney movie,
right?
Oh gosh, I can't remember the name. But anyway, there's a movie that was very popular, great music, and it was everybody.
All right, I think it's called Sheriff. It's called Nightmare Before Christmas.
No, not that one.
No.
Coco.
It was.
Is it called Coco?
Do you know what, Eldon?
Yeah, Coco.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Coco.
Yeah, it's Coco. Yeah. So it wouldn't have bothered me anyway. The first thing I think of is, wow, how unique! What a nice display. Maybe she's copying Coco. I don't know, but it's really nothing to be offended about. And thank goodness the Constitution doesn't protect us from being offended.
Amen. What I think, though, we need to do is take this opportunity and talk. You know what? Learn why she put it up. Learn what her feelings are. Yeah, maybe there's a way to talk about those and address those and work together to come up with a greater understanding. That's the genius of America for solutions, Sheriff.
I say we reach out to her and have her on the show.
All right. Eldon, what do you say? I mean, should we listen to her?
Yeah, why not? Have her give her own story. A lot of times people just, they get on social media and they want to create some sort of controversy over, something that they really have not looked into or tried to understand, or they just want to, demonize whoever. There's so much of that nowadays going on.
All right, Sheriff, I want you to get the last word. You haven't been around for a while. What topic is hottest for you? Let's finish on that.
Well, it's still, Sam, what we've talked about a little bit today, but I say it's got to be, and this might be opportunistic also, to defund Planned Parenthood. Ultimately, I don't believe we're ever going to get rid of abortion. There's just too many people in the world that are going to do that no matter what.
Yeah, it's the sacraments of the evil. That's why.
Horrible scourge known as. Yeah, well, none of us, Eldon, you, me, we're all forced to pay for that. That's got to stop. Defund Planned Parenthood, and I say if this government will not defund Planned Parenthood, every Christian should stop paying taxes, and we stop paying to this evil thing, and killing babies, and not standing for the Declaration of Independence of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The number one thing is we protect life, and it's God, family, and country in that order. And we have got to stop this scourge and this absolute heinous evil that's been saturating our country.
A scourge on our nation for sure. One final announcement before the end of the hour. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had the prophet, President Nelson, Russell M. Nelson, pass away. And now they're today setting up a time to announce the new prophet and to make that official. Do we have a time on that, Zach? All right, so it's supposed to happen today, and I'm sure it'll be a public announcement. Keep an eye out for that, though. That's quite interesting. And, we want to keep an eye on all the interesting things. We talked about the Catholics and different religions today, defending the Catholics. Okay, it'll be at 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time, and keep an eye out for that. Anyway, thanks for being alongside for the ride. I know it was a little crazy because it's live, but that's the way it is sometimes. live radio and TV on a thin dime. We're all doing the very best we can to serve you, my fellow Americans. Donate to the John Birch Society, jbs.org. Donate to CSPOA, cspoa.org. And donate to Loving Liberty, lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, donate liberally. It's the only time we believe in liberalism, right? Make it a great day. God save the Republic of the United States of America.